Don't keep me waiting.
You keep your head held high, just like Mom taught us.
Whatever I say, go.
You got to stand up.
Hell no. There's gonna be some changes made.
This ain't me. Hush. We need to look like we belong.
It's time to see the world. Hell no. Hell no. Oh, Miss Celie, you look good. Hell no. Don't be no fool. Don't waste your time. Any man that hurts you ain't worth a dime. No, no, no.
I done had enough of you.
Oh, man, surprise! All you got to say, you need to say, you better say.
The women at this table have lost their minds.
Now you're preaching. No!
All right, up next, what you guys all been waiting for is The Color Purple. All right, I got a lot to talk about with this film. So let me see. God, I'm trying to reference when I saw it. Was it November?
Yeah.
November?
Yes.
No. November, December, right? So they literally started screening this film in Los Angeles maybe about 3 weeks ago. And I happened to be lucky enough to get a ticket for the second screening of it in all of Los Angeles, right? So like the night before, Oprah Winfrey, Coleman Domingo, and the entire cast were there.
Right.
The night I went, Oprah didn't come, Coleman didn't come, but everybody else was there. Blitz, Taraji, Fantasia, Danielle Brooks, everybody was there, right? We watched this movie, and I would tell you, when the first viewing of it was like being at church. People were like, amen, girl, you tell them. And I was like, wow. I'm watching the movie, and immediately, I think I don't know if I told the story of the first film. Have I ever told the first film story in here?
I don't think so.
Okay. So I saw The Color Purple, the original one in 1985 before it came out. I was in Times Square with some friends, and a guy was standing on the corner, and they were giving out free tickets. And they was like, we got this secret screening, and we will pay you $5 to come watch this movie and give us a review afterwards. So I don't know. I'm like, I got nothing to do. We got $5. Let's go and watch this movie. And the movie was The Color Purple. I watched the movie, and I never forget, it affected me so much. I was writing my notes with tears in my eyes.
Wow.
I had just finished watching Celie and Nettie getting back together, and they what do you call it? Like they patty cake.
Yeah,
they patty caking at the end. I'm crying. I'm like, man, this movie's magnificent. So you get this film that introduces Oprah Winfrey. It introduces Whoopi Goldberg. We got Danny Glover. You got Margaret Avery.
Yeah.
All these amazing actors. So this film, when I saw it, I might have been 20. This movie is seared into my brain, right? What The Color Purple is, right? Now comes this remake, right? Not a remake per se from the 85 film, but a remake of the musical that's been playing on Broadway. And I think I saw it with Fantasia and didn't think too much of it. I was like, I personally like the movie, right? You can have this Broadway thing. And they bring in a brother that Charles and I are familiar with because we saw his film. I can't even remember the name of it.
Rustin?
No. Blitz. Blitz did the film, The Last Something that we saw. It was like the brother is from Ghana?
I think he's gone.
He's from Ghana, Ghanaian, right? So we see this
The
film.
Burial of Kojo.
The Burial of Kojo. We see it at the festival. And I remember looking at Charles when we were watching it. I was like, I don't really understand the film, but who is this dude that made this movie?
Right. Because it was visually,
it is just stunning. Like there's a scene with a Volkswagen sitting on the beach on fire. There's another scene where a guy is walking, instead of the snow coming down, the snow is going up. I was like, so visually, even before I watched The Color Purple, I knew that what Blitz's reputation was, and I knew visually that this story would be strong. Here is my issue with The Color Purple. Now, let's say, before I get started, I don't want people at home thinking I'm slamming The Color Purple. I like the movie, right? But I'm saying it in contrast to the 1985 version, which is, again, seared into my DNA. This movie is a musical.
Mm-hmm.
There are like 18, 19 songs in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
All of them don't work. I'm just going to be real. I mean, Max is sitting over there looking at me. All of them don't work, right? Secondly, all the scenes from the 1985 film, for the most part, are in this movie. The difference is that the perspective is very different in this film. The first film, which directed by Steven Spielberg, was very male-centric, right? We it was all about Mr., the relationship with his father, played by Adolph Caesar, the abusive nature he has with Celie. So we get that in the first film.
Right.
This film, Mr. is a little tame. We see Mr., he's strumming on a banjo. He's kind of a jokester. There's a couple of outbursts from Mr., but nothing to the degree of what Danny Glover brought, the kind of menace that he brought, which I'll stick a pin in the menace, because we're going to come back to that, how that affects the later story. Or, as I like to refer to it, what was the Spike Lee movie? Oh, Mo Better Blues. Remember I told you famously about Mo Better Blues? The reason why Mo Better Blues wasn't more effective is because instead of making Denzel Washington really like a heel in the first act, when you look for his contrition in Act 3, it kind of like,
it doesn't connect.
It doesn't really connect. So the same way that happens for me in that film is the way it happens for me with that particular character in The Color Purple.
Yeah.
The other thing is that the scenes are there, and I'm looking at Max, the scenes are all there, but I'm not really feeling the same emotion in this film that I felt connected to the first film, right?
Right.
You're going through the motions, but I'm just not feeling it, right? And then there, without spoiling the film, I think there are two eras in this film which are bad, right? The first one is, if everybody saw the first film, there's one song in that film that is like a huge number, which kind of like it's kind of like a resolution point.
Right.
And in this film, they took that song and made it a kind of a stripped down version. And I was hot. I was sitting there with my jaws tight. And everybody was like, woo! And I was like, it's not working. And then the second thing was, and this is really important, Mr. in the original film was a monster. I don't care what Steven Spielberg says. Spielberg in like a featurette was like, well, I never saw him as a bad guy, was just doing things he was doing for his daddy. Nah, he was smacking that woman around. He was doing all kind of crazy stuff to Celie in that original film. And then Charles, look, I mean, I don't even want to say it, but they just handled the Mr. character in a way. I was like, that wasn't necessary. It wasn't necessary to me. And I felt that kind of this message of I don't want to say too much, but I just thought that the way that character's arc was handled just didn't work for me at all. Having said that, though, I think that Fantasia is really wonderful in this movie. I think Taraji P. Henson as Shug Avery, she tries. She doesn't have that voice, but she does what they ask her to do in this film. I think Coleman Domingo as Mr. His better performance this year is Rustin. He's good in this, but he's not great. Corey Hawkins as what is the character?
What's the son's name?
Sophia's man. He's okay because that character is really not well drawn. The best thing in The Color Purple is Danielle Brooks.
Absolutely.
Her Sophia.
Harpo.
You told Harpo to beat me. It's so funny. I kill him. No. I loves him, but I kill him dead. I was sitting in the theater like, yeah. That her portrayal of Sophia reminds me a lot of Jennifer Hudson's portrayal as Effie White in Dreamgirls. That's the character that if it's played right will get the attention even more so than Celie, right?
Good.
Yeah. So having said all of that, the 1985 film to me is my canon version of The Color Purple.
Correct.
I believe that the 2023 version of The Color Purple will probably be canon for some young person now who will look back on this film in 2 decades and be like, man, Blitz and The Color Purple, that was my movie. It's just not my Color Purple.
Okay.
But I would give it an A minus. I think The Color Purple is a really good movie if you take it from what the musical is giving you. I'm not saying it's because the first one is just classic to me. Remember, the first one got 11 Oscar nominations and didn't win one.
Didn't
win one.
Not one single.
Didn't win one. So people sleeping like, well, y'all keep talking about this Color Purple. It was an 11-time Oscar-nominated film. That was a really good film that should have won several of those Oscars.
Sure.
And Max, for $100 without Googling, what movie beat The Color Purple that year for Best Picture? Guess what? You're not alone because nobody can remember the
Out
film.
of Africa.
When's the last time you watched Out of Africa?
I've never watched Out of Africa.
I've never watched it either.
After the first time I ever watched it.
Never watched it. I mean, I saw clips of it.
When
never watched it.
When it won the Oscar, I went and watched it just because I was like,
Africa.
what is this movie? Why did it win?
We gonna remake Out of Africa.
Never.
When's that coming?
Never.
Are you screaming for an Out of Africa remake?
There's a Broadway play Out of Africa.
Sight. Wow. So, watch this. This is why when we do our Oscar shows every year and we talk about movies that win, like when's the last time you've seen Shakespeare in Love?
I can honestly say I never watched that one. Never watched it.
But it beat Saving Private Ryan.
Sure did. For some reason.
Yes, it did, Max. Oh, what about, here's my classic one. What was the story? Unsomething People. What is the name of that movie from 1980? Timothy Hutton.
Yeah.
What is it called? What People?
I never watched it.
That's the movie that beat Raging Bull.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Martin Scorsese lost an Oscar. What? I'm gonna Google that real quick because we got like a couple of minutes.
While you do that, let me go
ahead, man. Do your Color Purple,
I want to give my first watch story as well. This film, The Color Purple, was the second movie I ever went to see with my now wife. At the time, we were in high school. You remember what the first one was? The second time that we've ever gone to the movie theater, she asked me to go get popcorn, and I went to get popcorn, and we were in a group. It wasn't just the two of us. And I came back, and the movie had already started, and they were watching the film, and I couldn't find them, so I ended up sitting in a seat by myself. Thank you, because I cried more in that movie than I should be allowed to, that I thought a woman should be seeing me cry. That film, the first Color Purple, was just so magnificently well done that it, like you said, brought tears to my eyes. So here, and I probably would have been embarrassed sitting with my future wife for the second time in a movie theater, and I'm crying. But anyway, not saying there's a problem with crying, but
Not saying you soft or nothing. You just
I'm not soft. I'm a man. What was it? Oh, anyway.
Oh, yeah. Max just held up his sign for us.
I know. I'm
Ordinary People was the name of the movie.
Ordinary People.
Ordinary People beat Raging Bull.
So
when's the last time you seen Ordinary People?
Anyway. So I'm coming into the remake of The Color Purple, and then I realized, they tell me it's a remake of the Broadway play and not a remake of the movie. And so, it's still my aspirations are kind of low because I know how good the original was. Now, and I agree with you on almost every beat that you talked about. There are some scenes that are missing from the original movie that had power and significance, and they were not carried on into the musical or the play. So It didn't connect with me in the way that most people would think it should. You know, it's The Color Purple, and you're supposed to love. I know my sister is going to not like the movie because her favorite scene is the patty cake scene.
Right.
And so, anyway, um, so yeah, I agree with you. I think Danielle Brooks, and I told this to her face, I think she is fantastic. Stop it. I think she's fantastic. I think she's incredible. Everything that she did, it made that movie perfect for me. But there were so many other things that kind of misstepped, in my opinion. But
Right.
it's still a great movie.
It really
so,
is.
I mean,
It really
I think
is.
a lot of people will love the film, especially if you haven't seen the original. And like you say, so that means it's for this new generation of
Correct.
people. So
Yeah.
it's a retelling of the story, and I think people will connect, and it should work. So I give it a B plus.
No, you want a B plus? I want
Yeah.
an A minus, man.